Hello, this is part 1 photo issues, section C, old Newsweeks, in my continuing series on the moon hoax issue. This particular Newsweek this week is from July 28th, 1969, and it's entitled One Giant Leap. I'm going to show you the cover of that Newsweek right now before we begin the summarization within the video. So here we go. This is supposedly us on the moon in 1969. That's what was on the cover of Newsweek in 1969. A bunch of fuzzy type photos. This is what they were passing off as the moon in the supposed moon landings. Something to think about as you analyze this. On page 18, the article is also entitled One Giant Leap. I believe it's nothing more than a bunch of slick propaganda for NASA, and I'll tell you why. In the article, Armstrong claims the regolith, or the lunar surface, came up with his toe. What about there being no crater under the spaceship when it landed due to the force? He also described the lunar surface as powdered charcoal, which goes against science and a lot of what other people have said and researched, including him and other astronauts. Armstrong said the surface was like the high desert areas of the U.S. In my view, that's a tip-off it was faked. Does that mean it was actually filmed in the western grid of the U.S. or somewhere else? And he tipped the public off because he was not allowed, obviously, to admit this. It may have been fake. I think it was a tip-off that it was fake. He also said there was no trouble to walk around up there. Well, the video evidence and science goes completely against this. The photos from page 19 here show a very rough video or photo. And I think it was done rough on purpose to make it look like we were actually on the moon. And I'm going to show you that example now. In the photos, you can see a very rough image of them claiming we were on the moon. They're very fuzzy photos, very grainy. You can barely see anything. I think a lot of this may have been done on purpose to further the idea that we were actually on the moon when we were not. Aldrin's solar wind experiment is also another large yellow flag in my opinion. How can sand blow with no wind? How can anything blow with no wind or no atmosphere? NASA contradicts itself here. Astros were kicking up dust clouds. Oh really? On the moon? With no wind or air currents or atmosphere? Newsweek claims purple rocks on the lunar surface. I've seen zero evidence of any of this in any of the photos. Neil gathered 60 pounds of lunar rocks from the surface. Now it's 60 pounds. Those numbers are all over the place. Neil and Buzz says the spaceship pads went 3 inches into the surface. If you look at the photos, it looks like it was set there. It's all on top. Nothing is going that far down. It looked like it was set on a stage set. How did dirt cling to the foot of Armstrong to scrape it off? When it's like powder. Think about that. Is it powder or is it solid? Or what is it when it comes to the regolith? This is all inconsistent. According to NASA, the Astros were up there 6 days. I thought it was 3. Apollo 11 claimed they saw the Russian Luna 15 on the way up. I seriously doubt it because, in my opinion, they were nowhere near the moon. I don't believe anybody's ever been on the moon. On page 21, there's an odd person in the Astros visor. It looks like somebody with sunglasses. I'm going to show you that photo shortly. It can't be one of them because they're next to each other in the photo. It looks odd, it doesn't add up. It's more evidence of fakery. I'm going to show you that image now. A lot of people may never have seen this because they don't own these magazines like I do. If you see right there, it looks like some odd reflection in Astro's visor. I can see it with an LEM, and if you get up close, you can see there's something wrong. It doesn't add up. Once again, the pictures are very fuzzy. You can barely see anything, including me. The LM was supposedly kicking up dust clouds 40 feet above the moon, but when it landed, there's no crater or even an indentation in the moon. This does not add up. This is also all over the books and all over the research. No matter what books you look at, some of this stuff repeats itself. Some of it. In the second article, Stay or No Stay, they had a guy by the name of Joseph Morgenstern, the general editor for Newsweek, that was writing this article. His regular beat was as a film critic. Another red flag. It's romantic propaganda in the article, in my opinion. The third article was Russia in space. An unmanned Luna 15 landed 500 miles where we supposedly landed on the moon. NASA had considered unmanned soil collection landings, but when it was dropped due to complexity and risk. Another yellow flag, because does it make any sense that like a few months later we're sending human beings up there when they abandoned unmanned missions because they were too complicated? It does not add up logically, folks, whatsoever. The fourth article, Open Skies, which was written by Paul Haney, who used to be the radio voice of NASA. It says in the article, NASA was always cloaked in secrecy. In fact, JFK is the president that got the launches on TV. He practically begged NASA to get the launches on TV. Before that, we don't know why, but NASA didn't want him on TV. The fifth article, The Watchers, talks about many famous people that bought into this, including the Pope. Poor people's groups protested too much money being spent on this at the time. One of the protesters was the famous civil rights activist, the Reverend Ralph Abernathy. It's all in the article. The last article, towards the end of the magazine, the Eagles' Rich Hall, has Aldrin saying there's almost any rock up there. But the photos and the research go contra to this. The photos show rocks that look like poured cement or some kind of layered rocks that are very, very plain looking. 80 pounds came back according to them with the rocks. Once again, those numbers are all over the place with the moon rocks. Another red flag. He claims the purple rock biotite was up there. But the photos largely don't show really any evidence of this. All yellow flags. The numbers all over. Another debate on cold and hot moon theories towards the end of this article. Once again, that has little or nothing to even do with the moon landings. It's as if they were trying to get the public's attention away from the moon and into Mars and into other issues that have little to do with the evidence of the actual moon landings. I think it was done on purpose. It's all a hoax. It's all a bunch of red flags. Here ends this video. Please make a note that my next video is going to be another Newsweek from the week before this in '69 that will, in my opinion, talk a lot about the myths of the Apollo program, the Apollo 11 program, and the myths of the astronauts. It was all a bunch of propaganda being pushed on the public to make them believe in myth that we actually went to the moon when we did not. That is the next video. I hope to see you there. It's free to subscribe.